Hey, welcome. Today, we are jumping into one of the most practical books on self-improvement out there, Atomic Habits by James Clear. We're going to break down the core ideas into a simple, powerful framework that you can literally start using today. Ready? Let's get into it. So let's kick things off with a question I think we've all asked ourselves. You set a huge, exciting goal, to get in the best shape of your life, to write a book, to finally learn a new language. But then, a few weeks in, that motivation just fizzles out. Why does this happen all the time? Well, the book argues it's because we're focusing on the completely wrong thing. Instead of trying to make some massive, earth-shattering change overnight, Clear shows us a different path, the incredible power of tiny 1% gains. And the math on this is just mind-blowing. If you can get just 1% better each day, the compounding effect means that by the end of the year, you'll be nearly 37 times better. It's staggering, and it all comes from a tiny daily effort. And that brings us right to the book's central idea, the atomic habit. Just think of it like this. These habits are the atoms of your life. They're the tiny, fundamental building blocks. On their own, they seem so small, almost insignificant, right? But when you combine them, day after day, they build the foundation for absolutely remarkable results. So how do we actually harness this power? Well, it all starts with a huge shift in your mindset. The book's first big idea is to completely forget about setting goals and instead focus on building systems. So let's dig into what that actually means. This is probably the most famous line from the entire book, and for good reason. It just nails the point. See, goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that get you there. Think about it. Winners and losers in any field often have the exact same goals. The real difference is the system they follow day in and day out. To build a system that actually sticks, Clear tells us we need to work from the inside out. Most of us try to change from the outside in. We focus on the outcome, like, I want to lose 20 pounds. But the book argues that real, lasting change has to start with your identity. The goal isn't just to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. Every single action you take is like a vote for the type of person you wish to become. So here's how it all works under the hood. Every single one of our behaviors, the good and the bad, runs on this simple 4-step loop. It starts with a cue, which is just a trigger. That trigger sparks a craving. That craving then motivates a response, which is the habit itself. And finally, that response delivers a reward, which teaches your brain, hey, let's do that again. The framework we're about to explore is designed to hack every single step of this process. All right, so now we get to the really practical, hands-on part of the book. How do we actually build these better systems? Well, Clear gives us this simple but incredibly powerful framework he calls the 4 laws of behavior change. And here it is, the whole framework in one shot. To build a good habit, you want to make the cue obvious, the craving attractive, the action easy, and the reward satisfying. And just look at the beautiful symmetry here. To break a bad habit, you just flip it. You make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. So let's take a closer look at a few of these. Okay, law number 1. The key idea here is that so many of our habits are just automatic responses to cues in our environment. So if you want to start a new habit, the trigger for it has to be front and center. Forget about willpower. Redesigning your environment is way more powerful. Now, one of the absolute best ways to make a new habit obvious is a technique called habit stacking. The genius here is you don't have to invent a new moment in your day. You just find a habit you already do without thinking, and you anchor your new habit right on top of it. And here's the dead simple formula you can use right away. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. Or how about, after I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes. It creates this crystal clear, unmistakable cue for what to do next. Next up, law 2, make it attractive. It's simple, right? The more appealing an action is, the more likely we are to actually do it. This law is all about hijacking the dopamine system in our brain, that feeling of anticipation that drives us to act. We can actually engineer our habits to be more appealing. And a fantastic strategy for this is something called temptation bundling. You just pair something you want to do with something you need to do. So for example, you only allow yourself to listen to your favorite true crime podcast while you're on the treadmill. You're basically transferring the excitement of the want onto the need. So what about those habits we're trying to get rid of? Well, it turns out it's not about using brute force or just gritting your teeth. It's about systematically taking the habit apart by just inverting those same four laws. Let me show you a quick example. Just look at this side by side for the first law. To build a good habit like eating healthy, you make the cue obvious. You put a bowl of fruit right there on the counter. To break a bad habit like mindlessly watching TV, you make the cue invisible. You hide the remote in a drawer in another room. It adds a little bit of friction and removes that trigger from your line of sight. It's so simple, but it's incredibly effective. This next idea is honestly one of the most powerful concepts in the whole book. It tackles the single biggest hurdle for any new habit: just getting started. This is Law 3, make it easy. And the way you make it easy is with the 2-minute rule. Here it is. Whatever new habit you want to build, you have to scale it down to a version that takes less than 2 minutes to do. Now, the point isn't to get results right away. The point is to master the art of just showing up, because you can't improve a habit that doesn't even exist. So think about it like this. Read a book every night becomes read just one page. Study for my exam just becomes open my notes. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. See what's happening? You're not trying to run 3 miles. Your only job is to put on your running shoes. It removes all the friction and makes it almost impossible to say no. And that brings us to the final law, which closes the loop. Make it satisfying. Our brains are wired for immediate gratification. So to make a habit stick, the reward has to feel immediate. A really simple way to do this is to track your habits. Just putting an X on a calendar gives you this little hit of satisfaction, this visual proof of your progress that makes you want to come back and do it again tomorrow. So if we bring this all together, this is really the core message of the entire book. It's not about some heroic, once-in-a-lifetime effort. Real, lasting success is the quiet, cumulative product of your daily habits. It's about building a better system for yourself, one tiny atomic habit at a time. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Forget about next month or even next week. Based on everything we just talked about, what is one tiny, 1% improvement you can make today?